A little backstory first. We had this neighbor who, I'll call B. The back of his house faced the side of our house. When I was growing up, I was really good friends with his son, so I was often at their house. B was a little weird, but his wife was wonderful, and his son was my best friend, so I never paid much of attention to his weirdness. We lived in a small town, where no one locked their doors or worried about anything. Over the winter, we had started noticing footprints in the snow, leading from our back door and windows to B's house. We really didn't worry too much about it, as it was obvious he never actually entered the house. We assumed he was trying to get a look at my mom, who was pretty attractive. So come summertime, my dad installed a tall privacy fence on the side of the house that faced his, so we couldn't see into our backyard where my mom sunbathed all the time. And Dad also installed multiple motion sensor lights. One summer day, B was wearing his absolutely awful looking light baby blue tracksuit that had shiny silver trim. I remember it clearly because my sister and I made many jokes about it that day. That night, I had asked my parents if I could go sleep downstairs. I was probably 9 at the time. All the bedrooms were upstairs, but I liked sleeping downstairs, so I could stay up late and watch TV. I don't remember how late it was, but I was sitting there coloring when I thought I saw something through the blinds at the back door. I brushed it off and kept coloring. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw that horrific baby blue and silver jumpsuit standing at our back door. I was too terrified to move, but didn't want him to know that I saw him, because the back door was unlocked, and I thought he might try to enter if he knew I had seen him. I colored multiple pictures before he finally left. This happened more than once. I come downstairs and see him looking in the back door. He started getting bolder, and he would be looking in the door in the middle of the day. He was just creepy, but I was always too scared to tell my parents. Looking back, I have no idea why I was scared to tell them. Maybe because his son was my best friend, and I didn't want to lose that. About a month later, B started being investigated by CPS, and his son was eventually taken away and sent to live with his biological mother in a different state. Not too long after that, B committed suicide. I know this isn't the creepiest story, but as a 9-year-old little girl, it terrified me. So this happened somewhere in the 2000s, when I was now 34 female, lived at home. I lived in the corner 2-story house of an estate area of semi-detached houses, and the back bedroom that looked out into our back garden. We had a side gate to the garden that was always locked, and we had a high wall around the garden itself, which could only really be accessed from the outside if a friend gave you a bump up or on an electricity box that was about 1 foot away from the wall near the road. So anyways, one night I'm awoken about 3 a.m. and I can hear someone gently singing, speaking, and laughing as though they are directing this to someone. I assume this is my neighbors and maybe they had a friend over for drinks or something. I think nothing of it and drift back into a light sleep. I continue to hear the singing and soft speaking voice, and I begin to realize it's been approximately 45 minutes and I haven't heard a single response from another voice. I think, shit, maybe someone's out on the street high, drunk or something. There's a road to my right, neighbor attached to my left, and another estate to the back. Being a nosy teen, I get up to peek out and see. I can't see anyone under the streetlight or in my neighbor's garden. And then I look straight down into my own garden. There is a fucking man laying in my garden, perched up on one arm and swinging a butcher's knife around in his other hand, while my dogs, spaniels, roll around him and look delighted with life. What the fuck? He's singing to either himself or my dogs. I run into my parents' room and they come to see what I've woken them up for. My dad, who's generally a quiet man, rips straight into action mode and grabs his shotgun and torch. This is North Europe. He used to hunt peasants and foxes and run straight down the stairs. He opens the back sliding door, points the torch, an unloaded gun at this guy and yells in a manly-ass voice he's never used before, "Get the fuck off before I blow your fucking head off." This guy jumps to his feet but quite gracefully smiles and bows before jumping up onto our shed and hopping over the wall. We reported it, but never heard anything. Also not sure why my dogs didn't bark at him. They would usually bark at anyone they didn't know. But regardless, singing weirdo, let's not meet. When I was young, around 8 to 9 years old, 1999 to 2000, I used to prank call random strangers. I would dial random numbers, and when someone answered, I would scream silly things and then hang up. Then one day, this person I just pranked called back right after I hung up the phone. I thought, oh, he has a caller ID. I answered, and this guy told me I was a very bad and disrespectful kid in a creepy voice, as if he was trying to scare me. I laughed it off and told him I wasn't afraid. He then started telling me he knew me, my parents, and where I lived. I thought it was impossible because his number was randomly dialed. He was a total random stranger. He started telling me that bad kids like me should be punished. Everything was funny until he started describing what I was wearing at the time, the color of my clothes and my family's clothes. I was so scared. I hung up the phone. I wanted to cry that time. He tried calling me again and again, but I refused to answer. Then a few days later, the phone started ringing at around 12 midnight every night for a week or two. My mom would answer, but no one would speak on the other line. Somehow, I knew deep inside me it was the same guy. I was scared to prank call again. That guy couldn't possibly know where I live, at least not in a matter of minutes, let alone know what my family and I were wearing. Because first, we lived inside a compound where we had lots of dogs walking around. Before a stranger could get in, I would have known because of the dogs barking. And also, I am in Southeast Asia. We did not have very high-tech gadgets at the time, and I was sure as hell it was a random number. I dialed it myself. After 20 years, I still can't explain how that was possible, and it would still freak me out if it happened now. In 2012, I, 20 female, went with my boyfriend to a diner on a Wednesday night. This place advertised free pie Wednesday when you spend X amount of money. The restaurant was right by his apartment, literally less than a 5-minute drive. It was a rainy night, and the restaurant was in a southern college town, but not close enough to campus to get much of a late-night crowd, and definitely not in the rain. Both of us enjoy quiet places, so we spontaneously decided to give it a try. The place was a normal, bland-looking chain restaurant shaped like a U. From one end of the restaurant, it would be impossible to see what was going on the other end. It's around 9 p.m. Not all restaurants are going to be open past them, but diners like this often are. The Waffle House and Denny's near campus is usually pretty hoppin' late into the night. This place is empty except one bubbly female staff member. I've been in food service. I asked the waitress what time they close because I hate when people come right at closing time. She says they're open till midnight. Lucky us. Our waitress was a skinny, petite, maybe 30-year-old woman who set us away from the front. She introduced herself as Sally, and right away I got the distinct feeling she was lying about her name. It's the way she took a moment to smile after she said it. Reminded me of the way my sister, who is a certified pathological liar, would slip in a little lie. Something was a little off, but nothing alarming. I mean, my sister is completely harmless. I noticed Sally isn't wearing a name tag, just jeans and a polo shirt. She gives us menus and again says her name is Sally. And again, I'm picking up on those subtle body language cues I learned from living with a habitual liar. So I'm thinking Sally is full of crap. It stands out in my memory as my first impression. My second impression was, damn, this lady talks a lot. I haven't seen you before. You new? Here for college? I had great roommates in college. Do you have any roommates? Aren't Thursdays the worst? There's nothing to do. Do you have any plans for later? It was kind of annoying. But she seemed nice, if a bit fake, and we figured she was bored out of her mind, or making an effort to get tips for being friendly. It became clear we were the only guest, and there weren't even other food servers for her to talk to. As far as I could see, it was just the three of us. We didn't want to be rude, so we just answered her obnoxious questions, thinking it was an attempt at small talk. After our main dinner, she takes our order for pie and then starts chatting it up about the weather. It's so dangerous to drive in the rain, blah blah blah. It should blow over soon. I'd wait here if I were you, blah blah blah. I started to get a bit creeped out. Like, why was she being so clingy? It was not necessarily a feeling of being in danger, more like, why are you so obsessed with me? So I get creeped out, but then feel bad for it. Who do I think I am, Regina George? Hating on some nerd? The lady probably just really needs to bring home some tip money. She brings us 2 slices of pie and gives us some peace. The pie was gross. I had mixed berry and it tasted super fake sweet, very artificial, like a child's lip gloss flavor. I don't know why I ate more than 1 bite other than I was broke and never wasted food. After a few cringy bites, I look to the back of the diner and the waitress is standing near a back door. Staring at us was some man. Heavy set, pale skin, sweat-stained white shirt. Huge barrel of a man, with a facial expression like he was watching cockroaches he was about to step on. They are both just staring silently. My blood went cold and all the hairs on my neck went up. They saw I was looking at them and they went into the kitchen quickly. Finally, alarm bells in my brain are ringing like a freaking tornado siren. I whispered, "We need to leave now. Just My boyfriend could see I was freaked, threw down some cash with a big tip, grabbed our jackets, and left our gross, half-eaten pie, and we bolted. We drive home and start laughing at our overreaction. That man was probably just a cranky cook who wanted us to go home so he could chill. And that waitress was just fishing for tips. Boy, did she luck out. She got well over a 50% tip. Because I was too chicken to wait for change. I'm feeling silly and really rude for judging a book by its cover and running out on the nice lady like that. Then the night went from kind of creepy to actual horror. I remember laughing in the car, and then I was waking up shivering and shaking in our dark apartment. My boyfriend was laying on top of the bed fully dressed with his shoes on. I had been slumped over, half on the bed, half on the floor, also dressed, in my rain-soaked jeans and boots. But I think I had my jacket off. It was midnight. Didn't remember parking or unlocking the door, walking inside, or anything from the last 2 hours. I wake my boyfriend up in panic. He remembers coming back, but not too clearly. He says he remembers going to the bathroom and becoming super disoriented, like the room spinning, but feeling a strange calm. Then nothing. We had both blacked out, something neither of us experienced before or after. We didn't have a drop of alcohol or intentionally do any drugs. Holy balls, we are lucky we lived so close. Literally a 3-minute drive away. If we passed out like that on the road, who knows what would have happened if we stayed at the restaurant for even 3 more minutes. This was almost 10 years ago, and I remember calling the non-emergency police line about it in the morning after I calmed down a little. The person I talked to on the phone sounded like they didn't believe me and questioned if I was partying. I wasn't, and generally had the tone I was wasting their time. It was a frustrating phone call where the police person asked, "Well, what do you want me to do?" I don't remember my response. It was awful. Probably worse than feeling of a violation from that night was the attitude of annoyance and dismissal from the authorities. Later, I looked up the restaurant online, and the hours are 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., just a little extra spice to the what the fuck soup. And further confirmation that something definitely wasn't right from the get-go. What sober person passes out like that, slumped over the edge of the bed in cold, rain-soaked clothes? 2 sober people with no history of fainting just collapsed for no reason. I think we've all been told, never leave your drink alone if you go out to a bar or a party. It never occurred to me that the same danger could come from a chatty waitress in a chain restaurant.